Wealth, power, influence. These weren't just words for J.P. Morgan, they were his reality. He was the man who shaped America's economy, the financial titan who built the first billion-dollar company, and the mastermind whose decisions could make or break an empire. In his time, the U.S. economy quite literally depended on him. He wasn't just a banker, he was the banker. But was he a hero who saved America, or a villain who controlled it? This is the story of J.P. Morgan, the man who ruled Wall Street and reshaped history. Born in 1837 in Connecticut, John Pierpont Morgan entered the world with a silver spoon, but also with a weak body. While other children played outside, young John was stuck indoors, battling violent coughing fits, unbearable migraines and scarlet fever. His father, Junius Morgan, was a wealthy banker, but his wealth couldn't change one brutal reality. His son was fragile, physically incapable of living a normal childhood. Desperate for a cure, his father sent him to the remote Azores Islands, believing the salty air could heal him. And so, at just 15 years old, John found himself living alone, far away from home, isolated. But in this solitude, something happened, something that would change his destiny. Instead of wasting time in self-pity, he immersed himself in books, finance, and business strategies. This boy, once seen as weak, was preparing to take over the world. By 19, John had studied in Boston, Switzerland, and Germany, gaining an elite education. But it wasn't just about schooling. His father had been grooming him for greatness. By 24, John stepped into Wall Street ready to make his mark. He founded his own firm, working as an agent for his father's bank in England. But fate had other plans. Just as John was settling into business, war erupted, the American Civil War. And while thousands of young men marched onto battlefields, John took a different path. He didn't fight, instead he found a way to profit. He financed the purchase of surplus rifles at $3.50 each, and sold them back to the government for $22 per rifle, a nearly 600% profit. This was just the beginning. While America was at war, John was building an empire. But his tactics would soon earn him powerful enemies. In 1871, John joined forces with Anthony Drexel, creating what would later become J.P. Morgan and Company. Now, Morgan wasn't just playing the game, he was rewriting the rules. At the time, railroads were America's lifeline, but competition was fierce. While others saw chaos, Morgan saw an opportunity. His strategy? Mergers. Instead of letting railroads compete and slash prices, he consolidated them. He turned competitors into allies, combining them into massive corporations where he controlled the boardrooms. This strategy was so powerful, it got its own name, Morganization. It wasn't just about owning railroads, it was about controlling the entire industry. Within years, Morgan controlled 1/3 of all railroads in America, but he didn't stop there. His next move would shake the entire economy. The steel industry was the backbone of America, and Andrew Carnegie was its king. But in 1901, Carnegie decided to retire. He named his price, $480 million. John didn't hesitate, he bought it in an instant. And just like that, U.S. Steel was born, the world's first billion-dollar company. To put it in perspective, this one company was bigger than the entire U.S. manufacturing industry combined. Morgan wasn't just rich, he was the most powerful man in America. And yet his greatest test was still to come. 1893. America was on the brink of collapse. The stock market was crashing, banks were failing, the government's gold reserves had fallen dangerously low. Panic spread like wildfire. In this moment of crisis, one man stepped forward, J.P. Morgan. He devised a plan. He and his private syndicate would lend the U.S. government $65 million in gold. In just 22 minutes, Morgan saved the economy. But history repeated itself. In 1907, another financial panic hit. Banks collapsed. People rushed to withdraw their money. Again, the government turned to Morgan. And again, he saved America, locking top bankers in a room until they agreed to his rescue plan. Morgan didn't just control banks, he controlled the fate of a nation. But this kind of power had consequences. By 1912, Morgan's unchecked power had become a national concern. The government launched investigations into Wall Street's money trust. J.P. Morgan himself was summoned to testify. His intimidating presence couldn't save him this time. Meanwhile, his health was failing. He suffered breakdowns, depression, and constant stress. Ironically, he was supposed to board the Titanic's maiden voyage but cancelled due to illness. On March 31, 1913, J.P. Morgan passed away in Rome. But his legacy? It didn't die with him. His banking empire became J.P. Morgan Chase, the world's largest bank by market capitalization, with over $3 trillion in assets today. His influence shaped America's financial system, the stock market, and global banking. J.P. Morgan, was he a genius or a villain? Did he save America, or did he control it for his own gain? Tell us what you think in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, check out our video on another legend, Cornelius Vanderbilt. His rise to power was just as brutal, and you won't believe what he did to dominate the shipping industry. Click here to watch now. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more epic stories from history.